I done messed up to a certain degree. Wasted time. I consider wasting time a mess up. Made a mistake. I've got this 08 Honda Pilot here, brought in, customer brought it in, bought it used, no history on it, other than the fact they had, the previous owner recently had it at Honda for a valve adjustment, and that's all they really know. They have no other history on it. Problem with the car is it starts, it runs like poo. It is skipping on 5 out of the 6 cylinders, particularly cylinder 2, 3, 5, and 4. You can watch misfire data on the scan tool. You can hear it in the exhaust. I mean, it's pretty rough. Fuel trims are way off. Back bank is running rich. Front bank is running lean. And in my mind, immediately I thought, okay, Honda 3.5, eating oil. You know, we got some valve issues, piston sealing issues. The oil control rings tend to leak on these and suck oil and foul plugs and yada yada. And you can see where somebody's been in here and done, you know, ignition coils. You see hose clamps, you know, off and missing, and intake's been on and off and stuff like that. You know, you smell the frustration under the hood. My problem is in my mind, I had already made up that mechanically there's something wrong with the engine. So I went right for that instead of following my routine. So after about an hour yesterday of determining the engine is mechanically healthy with in-cylinder pressure testing, vacuum pulse testing, I was frustrated and disappointed with myself that I skipped my normal misfire routine. Left, went to my brother's, helped him fix the car up there, got a fresh start this morning, came in, and I'm going to show you what I found. And I can't explain why it does what it does, but I want to give you, hopefully this is more of a lesson in your routine. So typically when I get a vehicle in with a misfire, you know, whether it's fish bite, low contribution, you know, single cylinder, multiple cylinders, whatever, I always start with the same routine. And I skipped it. And that typically is, I'll current ramp coils, injectors. Let's see, you know, are the injectors firing? Are the coils working? You know, so we'll do spark, fuel quality. And then the engine has to have, you know, compression and the ability to breathe. And that's where I went wrong. I went right for the throat. And let's just get started on it. So first and foremost, we will bring up our misfire. I guess we gotta turn on. Ooh, death, darkness, no parents. Lego Batman reference for you. Let's see. So I have all of our misfire data brought up. It's got a $111 even. Sounds good cranking. It's hard to hear how poor it is running, but let's see. Right now we have misfires on 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. It gets worse. We'll let it sit here and idle, and it gets running really poopy. The engine is warmed up now because I did have it running. So we see our misfire data is counting up there pretty good. 2, 3, and 5. It's not running as horrible as it was. You go back by the tailpipe, you can really hear it starts, you know, you stick the old dollar bill up there, starts sucking it back up the pipe. Is our misfire data not counting at this point? There we go. You put it in gear, it gets worse. Pretty sporadic. But like I say, the longer you let it idle, the worse it gets. Like I mentioned, I did stick to my routine. I can't believe the engine light's not flashing. You can see our misfire counters are still counting. Grabbed the current probes, found where the ignition coils and injectors come back to a main junction back here. Grabbed the main power feed for the ignition coil, and then all 6 power feeds for the injectors, so we can see those, make sure they're working properly. And that's where the epiphany happened. Bring the Pico up here on the screen for you. Our blue trace that's up there, that is the current ramp for the ignition coils, and the red trace is the current ramp for the fuel injectors. I'll pause this here, hopefully. There we go, we got her paused. If we're looking at the red trace, one of these things doesn't belong, and that is this fuel injector right here. That, folks, is a shorted fuel injector. And it's pulling, you know, about 3 amps, roughly. Let's see, yeah, about 3 amps. where a normal good fuel injector is about 3/4 to an amp. What are these? Yeah, about 3/4 out of money. Okay, so I see that and I'm like, okay, well, you know, do I have the right wire, because all the wires back there are the same color. So I'll show you what my process was next, because I didn't want to jump to conclusions again today like I did yesterday. So we'll grab the scan tool here. We're going to pop back out. We will go to actuation test. Hopefully it's warmed up enough. We're going to go to one injector off. Once it start the engine and all that. If it's not warmed up enough, it won't allow you to do this. Yes, it has 6 injectors. So I'm going to go right for the throat here. Pico's still up on the screen. I just killed the number 1 injector. And you guys can see up there on the screen what's missing, the number 1. So I'm going to back out. We'll turn that back on. Boom, there it is. I was super excited to see that, to know that I had the right wire. But the only thing that was a concern of mine is the number 1 cylinder was not one that was firing, nor is it one that's setting a code. Oops, let me shut the ignition off here. So we go back through and look at misfire data. I had to cycle the ignition out of that test. You know, we got misfires on 2 and 3 and 5 and some on 6, and then 4 will start counting, but never or rarely on number 1. All right, let's go over here. Fortunately for us, the number 1 injector is one of the few that I can get to. So we'll unplug it here. Put my light somewhere that ain't gonna go through the pulley. We're gonna unplug the number 1 injector. So that's unplugged, and I don't know if you can hear the tone of the engine, but it switched to a single cylinder miss. And when I look at scan data, we only are recording misfires on cylinder number 1 right now. All the other ones will return to 0, which is kind of wild. I can't really explain that, why the number 1 injector being shorted was causing misfires on all the other cylinders, and the fact that it never threw a code. So we come back over to the Pico here, having that injector unplugged, you know, same thing. Let me get this to stop. We can see right here, you know, that number 1 is missing. If you want to just kind of double verify, you know, we can stick a Noid light in there and then we'll see the current draw from it. I can show you that. Let me just come over here just a minute, folks. There, I just put a Noid light in place of it. And we can see the current on a Noid light, which is kind of what we would expect from a light, you know. Initial inrush of current is that, you know, the bulb's turning on, and then as the element heats up, it, you know, cools off, and resistance goes up, current goes down. So that's kind of a 100% confirmation. We can do a resistance check on that injector and compare it to a known good, and I think we will clearly see that injector is shot. And then just to show you again, you know, now that they've cleared, misfire in cylinder 1, let's go plug that thing back in. Pull my Noid light out. We will plug this back in. If I can get to it here. Everything's pretty toasty. That is plugged back in. Let me see here. The high current ramp is back up over there on the Pico. And then we see our misfire counters. I'm starting to hear a little popping in the exhaust there. 2, 3, and 5. Counting like crazy. And you can hear it in the exhaust. I doubt you guys will be able to hear that on the camera. But the engine starts tremoring. The more you let it run, the worse it gets. So yeah, I guess that's it, folks. So I guess the main point of it really is not, you know, how to fix your Honda when it's skipping random misfires all around. I guess the main point of it was not to rabbit trail based on pattern failures. If it's, you know, something you can't do very quickly. And just stick to your diagnostic routine you use, whether it's, you know, chasing a misfire or fuel trim problems or, you know, vibration problems, anything. If you have a system that works and it's, you know, can narrow down your search, you know, quickly. Misfire, we want to narrow down quickly. Is it mechanical? Is it fuel? Is it spark? You know, which includes a lot of other top, you know, subcategories, you know, timing, fuel quality, you know, mechanical is going to include, you know, compression, breathability, stuff like that. But what you want to do is start broad and get to a pinpoint test very quickly. If I'd done this yesterday, you know, we'd been done in, you know, 20 minutes. But I guess that's it. Don't get sidetracked. Stick to your guns, and you'll end up with an answer quicker. So, gonna keep moving. Wish I could explain why this does what it does, but perhaps I'll make a video on, you know, replacing that injector and then some verification so everybody can sleep well at night, myself included. So let's see if I get the job. Go down in the question box, comment box, leave your questions, comments, criticisms, concerns, and any story that you may have where you've gone down that nasty little rabbit trail only to end up back at the beginning and starting over. And look forward to reading those. So, all right, guys, just remember, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.